Okay, welcome back to South Texas Youth Soccer's webinar series. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Tyson Wahl, the General Manager for the Austin FC Academy, and with Juan Delgado, the Technical Director for the Austin FC Academy. Tyson had an 11-year professional career in the MLS before going on to work as the Director of Youth Development for the LA Galaxy and then the Austin Texans. He became the Academy General Manager for Austin FC in 2019. He spent the last year building the foundation for the Youth Academy. Juan has over 20 years of coaching experience, having worked as a coach, an academy director, and a scout for Spanish La Liga clubs Villarreal and Valencia, as well as the prestigious Aspire Academy, which is the high-performance center for the Qatar Federation, and also trains the Qatar national teams. During a short time at Austin FC, both Tyson and Juan have had a positive impact in the Austin soccer community, and they've laid the foundation for an exciting future of player development in the academy. Tyson and Juan, thank you for taking the time to join us today, and thanks for sharing the story so far and your vision for the future of the Austin FC Academy.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gareth. Awesome. Well, thanks for that great introduction, Gareth. I really appreciate it. It's a big honor, obviously, to speak to South Texas and also to be engaging with ODP and STISA. So we appreciate that support. Yeah, Juan and I really just wanted to get on and really provide a general introduction into our club and kind of give a general framework of what we've been doing for the past year and a half and kind of some of our future plans. So definitely an honor and a privilege to speak to you guys, and thanks for having us on. Yeah, so with our academy, just starting out with from big picture, with our entire soccer operations, we have tremendous support from our leadership team. I think for me, this is one of the ways that we're really unique, and one of the ways where we hope to be embraced, and one of the ways where we think we can provide a lot of support to youth soccer here. So we have Claudio Reyna, Josh Wolf, myself, and Juan Delgado. We have plenty of other soccer operations people, but I would say these are some of the the leaders within our organization who are really going to be forming how we play, how we staff our groups, and how we coach. So it's an exciting group. I think Claudio, Josh, and Juan have tremendous experiences kind of in different avenues with certain specialties, and I think the one thing that stands out is all three of those professionals are super committed to youth development. Even though Josh Wolf is obviously the head coach of the first team, he's tremendously involved and aware of the youth space and really supportive. And Claudio is the same. I mean, Claudio built NYCFC from the ground up, and he helped build the academy. And he's, since day one, when I met him and we kind of started speaking as he joined, I could sense his passion with youth soccer and being involved. So we have tremendous support from our leadership group. It's very, very exciting to be a part of this club. So yeah, we'll just go into some of the details, kind of like an introduction into some of those leaders that we just talked through. Obviously, Claudio, he started NYCFC. He has experience managing superstars, like Pirlo and David Villa. He also has experience setting up a youth academy. I think he was very involved in their academy, and they've been successful from the early stages. So he has a vast level of experience that I think he's really going to be able to share like worldwide perspective on our academy and on our club as a whole. So definitely honored to be working with him and taking his guidance, and it's been a pleasure so far, and I think he's really going to help youth soccer in South Texas as well. So Josh is a young and experienced coach with a lot of promise. Obviously, as a player, he was a stud and a very exciting player. I had the privilege and the challenge of playing against him and with him quite a few times. So it's always fun to kind of chase him around the soccer field and try to keep up with him. But more importantly, as a coach, I think Josh is extremely tactical and he has a really, really sharp soccer mind. So it's really interesting to get on the coaching board with them and with him and kind of learn how he wants to play. And that's been something that we've really been focusing on the past several months, especially. Juan and Josh and myself have really been trying to integrate how we're going to play. And I think it's a huge advantage for us to have been able to get our staff together before the first team actually plays, because we have this time to really make sure that our game model is connected. And I know Juan will go into that further, but it's really been in some ways a blessing to have so much time with Josh. And I think that's kind of another way that we will try to stand out in terms of how connected our style is with our first team style. And in addition to that, Josh also is really familiar with the youth space, and he's really committed to youth development as well. So definitely an honor to be working with Josh, of course. And this is a little bit about my background. As a player, I would say I always wanted to improve, and I worked hard to improve every day in training. And I think I try to bring that mentality to everything I do as a person and as a professional and within the academy. And I think for me, that's kind of how I connect to high-level youth players. I do believe that young players of all different abilities, if they work hard and they're committed and they want to improve, I think they can improve. So that's where a lot of my kind of deep passion lies. I love as a person trying to improve, and then for the academy, I mean, this is a tremendous opportunity for myself, and it's a really exciting project. And I probably drive my wife a little bit crazy every single day when I wake up, super motivated, trying to find ways to make our academy system better. So it's definitely a privilege to be a part of the Austin FC project, and looking forward to our future and growing. So yeah, Juan is obviously, for our academy and our club, I mean, I think he's a difference maker. I mean, you provided the introduction to him, and I don't think he won't boast too much about himself, but I'd like to boast about him. I mean, I don't think there are many individuals with his level of experience in Major League Soccer academies and potentially worldwide. Juan has been, since day one, really, really passionate about being a part of a new project and having a project that he can help shape. And I think he's really, really committed and really passionate about setting up something that's unique and special. And so I learn every day from Juan, and he's a great partner in forming this academy, and definitely rely on his experience as a coach. I think with our staff, everyone has different skill sets, and he's clearly the most experienced on the coaching side. And I think as a team, I try to help kind of teach him and integrate him into the U.S. soccer system and the South Texas landscape. And I'm fully confident that he's going to have a very bright future in Major League Soccer in the youth space.
Tyson, if I could just ask a couple of questions there while we're going through that, both of you and Juan. First of all, Tyson, you grew up in California. You worked there as a coach, and it's arguably one of the biggest hotbeds for soccer in the United States. So far in your year that you've been here, and obviously before with the Texans, how does Texas and Austin in that area compare? And do you see the same potential for growth here in this area?
Yeah, that's a good question. I did grow up in a hotbed. I mean, Southern California, just like several other places across the country, are kind of hotbeds, whether it's because of the population, the demographic, the ability to train consistently. I think there's different reasons that hotbeds exist. I think, hopefully in time, we can do a good enough job so Austin becomes a hotbed. I think that's possible, and I think that there's a lot of talented players here in Austin, and Texas as a state, as Juan likes to mention, is I think as big as Spain. So in terms of the size of the state and the population, and the potential, we do have the potential to produce talent here. So it's going to take hard work. It's not going to come easy. But I think if we set up the right structure, I think our system will succeed. And for me, I think some of the differences just in players and kind of where the gaps need to improve is that from what I've seen in Texas, it's and possibly across the country, but in Texas especially, the players that are physically more developed, tend to lean on those physical attributes. So there's a lot of players that are physically developed, but not so much tactically and technically. And then the players that do have that tactical understanding or technical understanding, maybe they're not used to playing at the speed that we'd like them to play at, and having quicker actions and seeing these plays quicker so that when they make the jump to a higher level of play, they can execute their technique and skill. So if we can find ways to improve both those aspects, I think, we'll have a bright future and we'll help players develop.
Juan, just wanted to ask you too. So, based on your experiences working in Spain, and soccer is obviously part of the history, part of everyday culture in Spain, and then also in Qatar, where they're trying to develop a culture and trying to develop a history that maybe they don't have. How did those experiences help you in this new role with Austin FC, and how do those shape kind of your vision?
That's a very good question, and this is something I asked to myself before making the decision to come here. I've been very lucky because out of my 4 experience, I worked for 4 different organizations: Villarreal, Valencia, Aspire, and now Austin FC. Out of these 4, 3 of them I basically started within the project. So when I joined Villarreal, it was just bought from the current ownership. It was a 2nd division club, and we built it from scratch, basically. New facility, new philosophy. So I was fortunate enough to spend 8 years there learning this experience. Then I moved to Valencia, and it was a completely different situation. Big club, big history, lot of pressure, a lot of media. So it gave me also a sense of how things might be working at this level. And then back to Qatar, I basically experienced both together, So we started the project, but we grow so fast because we had a lot of resources. Actually, the model was the opposite as we're doing now in Austin. So I always said we first built the rocket, and then we started to find the astronauts. So we had the best facilities, the best resources, manpower and expertise from all over the world, but we didn't have the players, and we need to learn, a lot because it was a young organization. So what I really like about Austin FC is they started from the human capital. When we discussed, Tyson and myself, previously, before I came here, we spent maybe six months over the phone on a weekly basis, and I was understanding how the leadership team wanted to do things, and it made a lot of sense to me. So it was, okay, let's focus on the human capital. Let's start early so we can hire the right personnel, we can have the clear vision, we can have time to discuss and define what we want to be, and then we move it progressively to grow, And this is basically, as I said, very similar model as Villarreal put together back in 1999. And in 5 years, Villarreal was from playing 2nd division in Spain to reaching the semifinals of the Champions League against Arsenal. So, and Villarreal is a population, is a town of 50,000 citizens, so very tiny town. And what I'm trying to say, in this case, Qatar or Aspire, the constraint was the number of players. We have in total 5,000 registered players in the whole country, entire country, from 1st division professional to the last little one playing. So I think all these all these experiences, a big club, a place where they build things very organically, but with a clear vision, and another place where you have all the resources, but not the talent. And them all three have succeed. You know, the funny thing is Villarreal reached the final. Valencia, has produced so many players and winning titles in the last 10 years. And Qatar was almost a miracle. We won the Asian Cup with the first team and with the under 19. And with this such of constraints, basically what I learned is success has many ways, and you need to focus on the human capital. That's the most important. So you have a very strong team, good decision-making process. If you are agile and you believe in the human factor and have a clear vision, you're going to achieve the goals that you set for yourself. So in this particular case, what I'm seeing is this, we have given a lot of thought on what we want to be, which kind of game we want to play, which kind of player we want to have, which kind of coaches we want to hire to implement this model. So it's been a very reflective and very thorough process so far. And again, I want to thank Tyson, because I think he's done a brilliant job on hiring world-class staff and making sure that everybody is aligned, and bringing us all together from first team to the academy. So I'm very confident that we're gonna do something great, and I'm looking forward to it.
Exciting. That's awesome. Tyson, if you go ahead and kind of walk us through the timeline, I think that'd be great. And then obviously talk a little bit about some of the academy and the things that you guys are doing specifically there.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we just wanted to kind of give people like a general timeline of some major events that have happened in 2019 and 2020, and then obviously looking ahead to 2021. Last spring, we launched our academy. So we started last March with the under 14 team, and it had a great experience with them. And I think starting with one team, kind of like what Juan said, I mean, we started out really small and we're growing gradually. And I think the reason we did that was because we wanted to make sure that we get our structure right and that we really take our time getting our game model implemented, bringing in new staff as well, obviously, because we didn't even have a first team coach at that time. So it was kind of a good entry point. And it also allowed us to kind of introduce ourselves to the local environment, because at the end of the day, we rely and we work with our local youth soccer environment, and it's important for us to have really good relationships. And I think starting out small and working gradually really helped that. So that's something we work toward each and every day as well. So our academy started last spring. There's quite a few sales points here as well, and those are really exciting moments, because last summer when we started our season ticket deposit, I mean, that was really exciting. I had never heard the office quite as loud as they were on that day. It was a lot of fun to be a part of, even though I'm not on the sales department. But actually, in a way, you really started to feel like between the season tickets and the groundbreaking date, those are big moments, pillar moments where the club is taking shape. And it's fun to be a part of that process and kind of see it in different ways and see the passion from different departments. So it's pretty fun experience. On the technical side, obviously last July, we announced Josh as head coach. And then last September, the stadium had their groundbreaking. So since then, we've been building our stadium, and it's going up right now as we speak, and everything is on schedule for our start next spring. So it's pretty exciting. Obviously, then into this year, our academy's been growing. We've added teams, and now we're at 13s, 14s, and 15s with added staff as well. And then the first team, I think, as we move along from summer into fall, based on Claudio and Josh's perspective, we're going to start acquiring players. And I think those are going to be really exciting announcements and exciting process to be a part of, and it'll be just another step that kind of excites the community and gets us closer to that 2021 opening game. So we also will be breaking ground soon on our training site. So we'll break ground on our training site, which will be for the academy and the first team this summer, and that'll be set to be completed next spring. So that'll be a great asset for us, and just being connected with the first team and having the kids being able to see first team players when possible is going to really help make our connection more concrete. So then obviously the big moment next spring is when our first team will join MLS. Definitely looking forward to that moment. So we just wanted to kind of talk about a little bit of our structure, not go into too much detail about this, but I think it is a way that will be unique. This organization is kind of, the way this graphic is set up is that it's kind of a flipped organizational chart. And the idea is that everything that we do from the academy to the first team is meant to support the players. Like every action that our sporting director has and how it trickles down through our coaches and then into our local interns. I mean, everything that those staff members do should be focused on how we can help create a good environment for the players. Because at the end of the day, whether it's an under 13 or a superstar, our organization from a technical side should be supporting them to put them in good positions to succeed. So one of the things that we're really passionate about within the academy is not only trying to produce professional players and high-level players, but with having people like Juan on and really high-level coaching educators, we believe that we can also be a system that produces coaches. So we have our sporting director, we have kind of department heads and leaders like Juan and others, and really experts in the field. And we also want to help grow coaches here in South Texas. So we have two individuals, actually both from local colleges, Chris Perez, who's a UT law student, and Jose Moreno, who is a former St. Edward's soccer player, who both played in the DA system, have now been our interns and are really progressing really, really well, and kind of helping us form this pathway for coaches as well too. So we want to be a club that helps develop players and also helps support the local ecosystem with our coaches as well. So this is just a little bit about the player pathway, and it kind of shows our age groups and how we break them up. At our youngest age groups, we have our Center of Excellence, which started last spring, and that was with 07s and 08s. And it helped us identify top 07s and 08s for our future teams. So that's a program that we really value, and that those age groups we really value as well. This program allows the players to stay with their primary team. So in this case, it would be under 11s, stay with their primary team, and we train them once a week. And sometimes we'll have friendlies with them as well. So we can start the identification process with them, also introduce them to our coaching staff and our coaching style. So it's really, really crucial aspect of how we identify players and bring players in through the system. So then the next three age groups are kind of our developmental side. So yes, winning is important and having success is important, but at this age group, we really want to focus on the development of the player and the development of the individual, making sure they're learning in an appropriate environment, so they can succeed later on when competition becomes more real. So at 15 and 17, that's when we start emphasizing competition a little bit more. So the games are more competitive, players have aged, players have gone through puberty or close to at that point, and things are really gearing up and getting much more competitive. And I think with the new MLS league that was just announced, I think that age group will also kind of value more competition within those age groups, and and the MLS system will be really unique in that way. And then eventually we'll have that kind of stepping stone. So the professional team that's just won before the MLS team, which is crucial for academies, and Austin FC will have that level of play as well. These are some of the competitions and kind of the game systems that our academy will play in each of the phases. So on the left, there's a developmental phase, and on the right, there's a performance phase. And those are kind of the tournaments and games, and essentially the competition model for each of those age groups. I think one thing that I know has been big, just in speaking with Claudio and also Juan, international competition is so critical for academies, and I think for the American player. And I think a lot of times you go out to field and you see this clubs playing the same way, and they're not really getting experience playing against different styles of play. So I know, especially with our older age groups, we do want to implement international trips and international friendlies and partnerships with international clubs. That way our kids are seeing a new style of play and getting a little bit of edge as well too in those competitions. So the MLS Academy clubs, they compete in Generation Adidas Cup. I think it actually exemplifies exactly that high level of competition, and also the ability to play against international teams. We watched the Generation Adidas Cup finals in Dallas last year, and it was a really cool experience, really unique. You have clubs from all over the world competing against the highest level MLS academies. And I think as we grow as an academy, I mean, this is really a tournament and a competition that we're going to place a lot of value in and compete and try to compete to win within this competition as well. And it's for 15s and 17s. And it's a really, really unique experience for development and for players to kind of open up their eyes and to see how many good players are out there. I think as a player, it kind of brings me up to like some memories. I remember as a kid growing up through the system, you know, you play in this little area, and for me it was Southern California, and you think you're the best in that area. And then as you do, I did ODP as a kid actually. And as you continue to kind of make the regional team and then the national team, you see how many good players are out there. And it really challenges you. And I think these types of experiences, whether it's ODP or Generation Adidas Cup, really expand your horizon. You see how many good players are out there, and it forces you to raise your level as well. So a lot of fun and really good, good opportunities for development. I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Juan now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyson. Thank you very much for explaining it so clear, and I hope the audience will like it. And again, we're just starting with 3 age groups, but our aim is to create the easiest, smoothest, and best possible way to reach the top. And we want to give this opportunity for every player in the area. So again, I think as Tyson mentioned, the new role of the MLS in this place, and the role that we also see with the ODP program playing in this regard is key and crucial for us to both find the talent, but also give them the challenge and the chance to compete at the highest level. This is something we discuss a lot. This is one of my, after 4 months of assessing the situation, one of the key decisions that the system has to make. So just to give you an example, in Spain, we are very lucky because for the same amount of, or as Tyson said before, it's as big as Texas. But if we check the number of clubs, the number of competitions you play, just to give you a figure, an under 12 in Villarreal or Barcelona or Valencia may end up playing 100 games a year. And out of these 100, around 40, 45 are top. When I say top, is whether they play against other La Liga level or international teams. So this, apart from the methodology, the history, football is number one, and so on and so forth. I think that the differential factor is how hard you compete. And I always give the same example on this regard, which is Uruguay. Very tiny country, possibly not the best facilities, not the best coaching style, but since they are very little, they are able to play the best against the best. So you grab the talent together, and we see many examples in other sports. So tennis players come to Spain from Russia, Australia. Why? Because it allows them to play against each other. And I think the challenge we face in the United States is finding a system that is sustainable from the financial point of view, but at the same time give the opportunity to these players to compete against the best. So we are very committed, as I said, to use ODP as a platform as well, to find these players at very early stage and to give them the opportunity to compete against the best. So again, this is a very crucial piece of the puzzle if we want one day to be world champions, which is actually, one of the dreams I have, and one of the reasons that brought me here is this 2026 World Cup that is going to happen. So anyway, following with this, when we discuss about the vision, this is basically the picture we have in mind. We starting from scratch. We want to do things right, but we have big goals and big dreams, and we want to be competitive first in Texas, of course, and we have other big clubs that have been for a while here, well established, Dallas, Houston. So it's also a motivation for us to be able to be the best in Texas. Then we want to be recognized as the best academy in the US, and not only because of winning championships, but most important because we develop players and we give them the chance to play for our first team, and also because we develop coaches and our methods are world class. So, and we provide value to community through educating coaches from other clubs to building partnerships with all the shareholders in the game, and to help, as Tyson mentioned before, for soccer to grow organically and as a system itself, And finally, we have the 2026, which is to us a big opportunity, the biggest showcase you can have. So we want and we aim to be known worldwide on 2026, because we aim to put an impact on the national team. And we're sure that with the coaching staff that currently the national team has, with the passion for soccer, with all the decisions that they've been making strategically in the last months, we can support this dream of doing something big on the World Cup. So when we talk about the strategic goals, again, we as a follow-up of what we just said, we have a very holistic mission, and some of them are quantitative, so you can measure them, and some of them are more related to value and standards. So we want to develop a cutting-edge philosophy on regards coaching and educating and as a culture. We also want, as I said, develop a second-to-none scouting network to make sure that every single potential talent in Texas has the chance to develop, and also nationally and internationally as we grow. Again, we're going to be progressive. We want to learn. We want to make sure we provide the best service to these boys. So we're going to make sure that we help them to develop as a person, and we'll go to that point later. but we have big dreams. So we envision one day giving the chance to players in Austin, to players in Texas, but also from other states and other countries potentially. So again, as a consequence of doing things right and finding the balance on performance and community values and community service, we want to grow the game basically on every single possible way. Tyson mentioned about ticket sales. The city is very excited. It's the first major league club that we're going to have. The vibes are out there. So we want to make sure we educate parents, we educate coaches, we give chance to players, and we also work with you guys, the government bodies, to improve the whole system. And that's one of our goals. And from the performance point of view, we wish and we dream to win the MLS by 2024 and having an impact on that. Our benchmark is bringing 2 players per season, and again, it's a very, very high standard one, because it will put pressure on us, but we think it's doable. We all think it's doable if we do things right. So maybe not the first year, but as we go along, we're gonna be able to make it. And as I said, by 2026, producing consistently 2 players for the first team would be our target. And again, as I said, having the World Cup there, we have the big goal of being the MLS club with more representatives in the national teams, at all different levels. So how are we going to do that? So again, the most important discussions we've been having right now is what should be our identity, what we want people to see when they see an Austin FC team playing or a player, and whether it's the first team or the under 12s, we want to have a DNA very clear, and we want people to have fun. At the end, soccer is a sport, but it's all about emotions and memories. So when we discussed, Gareth, last day about Leeds, I could see the fire on your eyes and all these memories coming to you, and maybe you go with your family to watch this game. So we want to create this. We want to have fun and people to have fun. And for this, we believe that the most important thing we can do is to be attractive on the pitch, to have something that people like to see, and boys enjoy playing. So we want to have the ball. We want to create a lot of opportunities. We want to take, the initiative, basically. And this is as a team, and as a player is very important as well. And later on, we can go into details, but we want people to be intelligent on the pitch. We want to create a system and an environment where players are autonomous. So they take ownership on the process. They have the freedom to decide. And for this to happen, we need to create the right environment and the right methodology as well. So, and finally, we want to be competitive, which is something, thanks God, we have in the American culture. So from my previous experience in Qatar, this was one of the main challenges. So all the role models around the players were against performance. So people doesn't need to go to work to get paid, and they see uncles and dads driving a Ferrari and not with I mean, they have no need, and they were not competitive as such, and we need to create this bubble, and provide this. I think here we have this advantage. We have this mentality in our players, and it's a matter of how we change from the boys to being told what to do all the time and asking, okay, what I have to do to improve myself. Or from this point to creating an environment where they are able to self-assess themselves, to identify the areas of improvement, their strengths. So basically giving ownership to them. And again, this is related to the style of play, the style of of player we want, the profile of player, but also the profile of staff to create this environment. So
Juan, just to interrupt real quick, and you touched on it there and talking about players being intelligent, being competitive. Are there other characteristics that you're looking for when you're watching players and when you're identifying players and all the different places that you guys are out and about and watching? Are there things that stand out to you in players, or how do you identify those characteristics of intelligence and competition and competitiveness that you're speaking to?
well, I think, you know, one of the experiences we have together, Tyson and myself, was a very positive one when we actually went to meet you, because we realized that we both look at players with the same lens, and it's not easy, you know, because I'm coming from a different background, experience, and I was very happy, you know, when we were assessing the boys up in Round Rock in the event that we were agreeing on the profile we're looking for. So for me, the first thing of course, the boy has to be comfortable on the ball, and you know, you have to see the obvious. And I will say always that the good ones, my father can find them, you know. So, but you need to see beyond that. And in order to see beyond that, you know, you need to analyze the game and how the game is going to grow. And it's very easy. So you just need to go into YouTube and watch a game from 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And you realize that in every sport, actually, you know, and I would say in every area of life, everything is going to be faster in the future. Everything is going to be more demanding. Even if you see that the playing style, we come from the Barca of Guardiola, where everything was possessional and you know, positional play. And you see a shift now, and you see Liverpool and Man City being much more vertical, and you know, so the game goes this way. So it means physical attributes becomes more important. And when I'm saying this, I'm not saying very strong, no mobility, kind of, you know, athlete, but harmonic athlete. So a player that has that potentially will have the physical capability to let his creativity, decision making, and technical skills to shine, you know, because one thing is sure, everything is going to be, time and space is going to be constrained as we evolve. So it's going to be less time to think and less space, you know. So the physical part of it becomes more important. And again, but of course, I always answer this question in the same way. What are you looking for? I'm looking for good players. And good players can be the tiny little kid that makes every single decision right. So you're going to provide him what he needs, and you're going to maybe put him next to the strong guy that is going to win the duels and give the ball to him. So if you want to have, if you find Iniesta, the next thing you need to do maybe is to find a Yaya Touré to put him next to him. So just, but you can have both. So we look, when we look for players, we look for good players. If you tell me the ideal profile is somebody who plays well, make good decision, has ability to control the ball on his body, manage the spaces very well, both attacking and defending, and has the physical attributes that allows him to show this potential. So that's a perfect picture. But again, you can have within this big spectrum many forms and shapes, and talent in soccer has many faces, I would say.
It's like David Silva, who obviously you know well from your time in Valencia and what have you, but a great example, right, of someone who maximizes the use of space, not the biggest player, not a physical specimen, but great engine, uses space. His brain thinks quicker than everyone else, so he's able to analyze the situation and play quicker. So yeah, a good example. I think sometimes we get lost in the speed of the game doesn't rely on the physical stature of a player. It relies on as much on their brain and their drive and their engine.
Totally. And yeah, we have Xavi. I've been fortunate to be very close to Xavi in the last years. I'm a friend of him, and again, he's a great example, you know. So, but he compensates. the lack of physicality with this genius, you know, being a genius on utilizing the space and technically. So you compensate one with another. So that's why when saying or assessing talent in soccer, as I said, it has many different dimensions, and you can be a professional world-class player just mastering one or two of these aspects, you know. And that's why it's very important to focus on the strengths on the players, and the culture of individual development plans and stuff is being too much into the weaknesses, I believe. And for us as a club, for us as a coaching staff in Austin FC, we really want to go the other way. So we want the players to identify their strengths and capitalize on them. So, and maybe find the weakness that condition this strength to, you know, to evolve, but not the other way around. So I always put the same example. So we've been coaching the kids to have heads up and drive the ball, you know, have a vision of the pitch. And then you put a clip of Lionel Messi, you know, the best player in history, and he does completely the opposite, because he doesn't need. So he has the vision here, and he knows what's going on, and he can dribble 5 players and score. So focusing on the strength of the player is key on the individual development. So, Tyson, would you like to add anything on that?
Yeah, the piece that I think I'd like to add is just like across the whole spectrum, when we're identifying players, there's a difference between when we're looking at an under 12 player and when Josh Wolf is looking at a 26-year-old developed professional. You know, we have the same player profiles that we look at throughout our whole club in the same style of play. But Josh is going to expect with the first team that a player makes a certain action in the attacking third and it's done exactly this way. And that has a trickle-down effect with how closely we're looking for players who can do certain things, because the 12-year-old obviously doesn't need to be able to do those same exact types of things that are listed in the player profile. But maybe at 12, we're assessing maybe he has the potential to demonstrate some of those things at 14 and 15 after we teach them. And then at 15 and 17, then you're starting to expect that they kind of exemplify and demonstrate those things that are listed in that profile. So there's obviously a clear difference between looking for talented 11-year-olds and fully polished professionals. And I think what Juan said is right. We're looking for the most talented players with the most potential as well, especially at the youngest age groups.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you, Tyson. Again, I'm coming back to the physicality. That's a very important thing to assess, you know, if the boy is mature, if he's, how he solves the problems on the pitch. Because if he's a 12-year-old that, yes, he's very effective and has a massive impact, but it's because he's massive in comparison with the other kids. So again, you need to assess the situation and take this into perspective. And I'm not saying he's not going to make it. So maybe he will be the one making it. But we need always to have this into balance, as Tyson said, and try to foresee the potential, not only the current performance of the player. All right, so just about talent development, we talk a little bit about scouting, and this leads us to the talent development cycle. This is something we applied, I've been applying the last 10 years or so. And I think the most important message, and this is what drives the whole entire methodology in Austin FC Academy, is the piece of in the middle. So for us, each player is a project himself. And when I said that, is a very strong statement, but it's the reality. So what we aim, or what we want, is to take this boy to reach his full potential, whether it's to play in college, in MLS, or in Champions League with Chelsea. So we have the responsibility to make sure he fulfills or he develops all the talent he has. So how we do that, or how we do this cycle? The cycle is very, very simple. So we start first with identification and the recruitment. So we need to decide which is the profile and the type of player we look for, as we just discussed. Then is the training. So how we let him develop, and most important, what does he need as a player, you know? As well as we said that each player is a project, for us, the team is the platform for these projects to develop. It's a vehicle for them to develop. And I always say to the coaches as well that our main goal is, after every training session, the boy has to go home thinking that the training was tailor-made for his needs. So that should be our goal. So the way we provide feedback, the way we make sure that he focus on his individual goals, even if it's a collective exercise, is paramount, is key, is crucial, you know, for him to understand that within this team context, this team environment, every single action he's doing is affecting his individual performance. So, and then again, we have competition, as we mentioned in the introduction, which is the exam, the testing, you know, the moment that you assess what they've learned during the trainings, and if they are able to apply it, you know, and if they are able to apply it under pressure, if they are able to apply it against different sort of teams, you know, different sort of scenarios. So when we leading, when we behind on the score. So how do we see all these behaviors? How do we see his ability to learn and apply this? You know, we all know players that they've been fantastic in trainings, and then the day of the game they didn't show up. You know, and the other way around. I have a lot of players that training-wise they were okay, but when the more difficult the situation, the more they wanted the ball, the more they showed the skills and the capacity. So competition is the mirror where we see what we're doing in the training and the ability the player has to put this into practice. Then again, a very important point is the counseling piece. So the education piece. So we have to build this sense of family, or we are building already this sense of family with Austin FC, and we need the player to feel that. And we need to also listen from them and understand what their needs are outside of soccer, and how can we help them on that, you know? Again, because if every player is a project, you have this holistic approach, we're gonna make sure that all the pieces of the puzzle are aligned and fulfilling the same goals. And I think it's important in this case, and the message we send to the boys, we've been calling now the new joiners, and we've been adding a lot of kids into the system. Our main priority is to develop them as a persons first, because coming back to the KPIs, we aim to have 2 players per season, making it to the first team. So what happened with the 20 or the 18 that they're not gonna be there? So they're gonna be out there in the world. They're gonna have jobs. They're gonna have a possibility to add value to the society. And we have the responsibility as a club to provide them with these values, with the tools. And as I said, and hopefully some of them recycling and becoming part of the club or the soccer ecosystem. So we want to provide this opportunity, knowing beforehand that 1%, 2%, 5%, if we are lucky, are the ratio we're going to bring to the professional level. And the rest, they're going to be playing a role in society that we want to influence in a positive way as well. And finally is the assessment within this cycle. So we find the talent, we nurture the talent, we try to accompany him not only on the field but off the field as well. And then we need to assess. We need to assess how does it goes, if he is evolving, if we see him making it, or if we can have a long-term project with him, you know. And if so, we give him the opportunity, and if not, we need to sit down and this is the worst piece of our work, you know, in working in a high performance elite system where you need to sit down and talk to the family and the boy, look, we believe it's better for you to leave because you're not going to have the chances to progress with us. And then you go back to the scouting and find other talents to come into the system. Again, we want this turnaround to be the least as possible. I think as we grow, and this is something I experienced in Villarreal, as I said before, every year this turnaround decreases, you know, and it's also a matter of knowing the market, building the network, and identifying the talent not only in Austin, but beyond. We are quite confident now that through our network and the way people is helping out here in Austin, we have the best of the best with us. Depending on the generation, we're going to have more talented groups from Austin or less. That's obvious, you know. Yeah, but our idea is to keep growing. You know, our next stop over is San Antonio. We believe there is a lot of talent in San Antonio. We want to provide this opportunity for players down there and give them the chance to come and become professional players with us. You know, so again, I think that's very important. We want to make sure we make the right decision. So we don't want players to come, stay 1 year with us and then leave. So we're gonna, our philosophy is to have very small, short squads, rosters. So we can make sure that we provide playing time. And also we keep always a window open for new talents to appear through the seasons and give them the opportunity. All right, so these are basically how we foresee the holistic approach. And I think that's where we also potentially, I'm sure we're going to make the difference. You know, these are all the programs we build in around the player. These are programs. It doesn't mean necessarily that these are separate teams. So it's all integrated. They communicate to each other. Some of the coaches might be doing or playing different roles within this. Within this is actually what's going to happen. You know, the philosophy within the club is that every coach has to have an impact on every player and know every player. So we're going to have the coaching philosophy. We're going to have the goalkeeping program. When I say coaching, is also coaching the coaches. So we're going to have the training piece where we integrate everything, the strength and conditioning, which is going to be very integrated again, you know, and there is a method called tactical periodization. You might be for sure aware of it, where I've been studying for the last 15 years, and I have written some articles and a book, and actually I wrote something long ago in a American magazine. So anyway, the idea is that the physical piece is going to be as much as possible integrated within the game model and the exercises. So and they're gonna have fun while becoming better athletes. And of course, it will be moments that they need to go to the weight room. It will be moments where they need to do something off the ball. But as a concept, you know, the tactical dimension and the game is the one that is going to drive the other dimensions. So again, counseling and mental program, we're gonna do both these with the players, but also with the coaches. I believe the psychologist and the mental coach are a key aspect on the academy level. And we had the opportunity, Tyson and myself, we visited several academies last winter in Spain, and specifically in Villarreal, the sports psychologists play a big role. And counseling the players, but also giving the tools and resources to parents and especially coaches. So then we're going to have the medical staff. Very important to have a clear screening, medical records, injury prevention protocols, follow up on return to play, also protocols. So we want to be world class into that. because we believe that a training session you miss because you are injured, it doesn't come back. So again, you miss because you are injured, it doesn't come back. So the best way to avoid this to happen is to make sure we have the best possible prevention protocols and the most effective return to play protocols as well. So then we have operations, which again, I'm confident we're doing a very good job. We test the water with one team, and this gives us a lot of feedback as well, and a learning curve without taking a lot of risk. So we've been managing one team. Tyson has been managing one team together with Junro, the coach, and we learn a lot on how to communicate better, how to make sure that communication is right, on time, effective, and all these pieces. If you make mistakes with one team, you can react quickly and fix it. So this gives us, as I said, a very fast learning curve. So we are in a very well position now to start with 3 teams and in the future with the entire system. Then with the scouting, again, we have strong belief that this is going to be essential for us to succeed, you know. And as I say, we believe we have Austin area thanks to our leveraging on the connections and also the willingness of the local clubs to support us. You know, I think we have the market under control, and we can provide opportunities to every player in Austin. The next step over is San Antonio, as I mentioned, but we want to go beyond that, and we're building the network, and we're trying to provide this value beyond the area near to us. So as we grow, as we have the facility, when we start the homestay programs, so we aim to be a reference in the country on this particular piece. And then we have the COEs, which is the entry level. Again, a platform especially for local players to come, to have opportunities, to show their skills, to have tryouts, to play games with us. So a way of giving the possibility, and also keep engaging with players that might be not ready now, but it might be ready in 1 year or 2. So that's very important for us as well. So since we're gonna have only one team per age group, how can we make sure we provide opportunities for everyone and who has talent? So the COEs are going to be this platform for us to give these opportunities. All right, so the assessment, as we said, the assessment is the final piece of the talent development cycle. It has to be very well done. It has to have a 360-degree vision where all the coaching staff and supporting staff is included. So we need to assess his behavior. We need to assess his physical condition, his mental mindset, how is he doing in the school as well. So as I said, you know, soccer is a very important tool to help families if the boy has problems with commitments in the school. So again, we want to go together in building the person first. And again, having this properly done assessment 4 times a year, where we evaluate the player in all the different dimensions or aspects, it's going to lead the process of training and development. So from this individual goals card, we're going to identify the strengths, as we said, and we're going also to identify the weaknesses of the player, and we're going to work on them daily. So I've seen other approaches to that, where you have the players doing this IDP training and they do the specific piece of training, which if you can do it, is perfect. I'm not saying that we're not going to do that. But the most important thing, as I said before, is every day the boy has to be focused on his individual development goals. every single day. And it's up to the coaching staff to give the right feedback, to provide the right environment, to ask the right questions, to show them the right videos. So the boys focus on that. And when he goes home, as I repeat, he feels, wow, you know, I was doing a 7v7 plus 2 floaters, but I was working on, you know, looking forward and try to find the third man, because it was my individual goal. So that's where we want to go, and that's the way we're going to work.
So just, I great presentation. Really appreciate it, Juan and Tyson. I know you probably have a few things here, and just while we're on this picture of the stadium, which is a beautiful stadium, and it'll be exciting to see that. It's always exciting to see MLS clubs as they build soccer-specific stadiums, and we have more and more venues like this, and they're also great for watching the game. Two questions that I have for you that kind of to tie all this together is, first of all, what advice do you give to young players? First of all, their development, you touched on it kind of through that process, but also how they can help themselves be identified. So maybe if they're outside of Austin, if they're in other areas, you know, you touched on ODP, you touched on different things. Are there ways in which those players can help themselves in that identification process? Because obviously we have this massive geography, which is our greatest strength, but oftentimes our greatest weakness as we try to manage and scout this whole, you know, area where the club landscape is so widespread. Do you have any advice to those young players on ways in which they can help themselves be identified by Austin FC or any other MLS development academy?
Well, I can answer the player identification piece, and I'll let Juan answer the technical piece on individual skills. But I mean, I would say for us, we have our website where you can, austinfc.com, you can express interest in being considered. So that's one way to kind of get in connection with us. I think for me, pushing yourself in whatever environment you're in to play at the highest level and to get as much exposure as possible. So whether that's aiming to play on the highest level of team within your club, or aiming to push which teams you can make with the ODP system, those two types of avenues will definitely help you be identified by Austin FC scouts.
I thank you, Tyson, and yeah, I just want to link what you said. You know, and I firmly believe that ODP is a great program that we would like to be associated to, and send the message that we were, both of us, there, you know, watching talent, and this is a big opportunity for players to be seen and to be identified. And again, we're gonna create a network. We're building the different ways to give opportunities. But right now, you guys have ton of experience, years of history, and I think that people need to acknowledge that we're going to be out there when you guys put these events together. So this is one point. And from the technical aspects, and what we discussed already, what we're looking at, but again, I think Texas, you know, when I was trying to have a global view of what the player looks like here, I think we have a big opportunity here, because we have the mentality and the drive, the American culture, you know, the commitment, you know, the values, and we also have the mix with the Latino culture, which is all about creativity and, you know, and finding other ways to solve the problems. So we have a very good combination of both. So and that allows us, also the proximity to Mexico allows us to play a lot of games, more than other states. So I think we're very well positioned, you know, and I think talent is out there. Talent is there because most of yesterday we were talking, you know, it's funny, in our 06's Zoom training that we're doing now with them, we asked them what their favorite player was, because we want to start discussing on player profiles, and we thought it was a good idea to start, okay, what is your idol and why, and what he does different, And Jorge, one of our players, play center back or center mid, he brought up the name of Franco Baresi, And this touched my heart, to be honest. Look, I don't know how do you say that, but you can see my skin, so today that people is not able to watch more than the highlights and Cristiano Ronaldo doing this, who this kid is telling me that his favorite center back is Franco Baresi, who turns to be 60 this past week. He told me, look, there is passion out there. There is people that really like soccer that spend hours, But I asked him, who tells you about this guy? I was thinking maybe his dad like him, and then, say, no, I found it in YouTube, So what I'm trying to say is we have the passion, we have the culture, we have the combination of Latino and American culture. It's all about creating the right pathway and inspiring people, and giving the chance to people, If Villarreal made it with 50,000 population, if Atleti Bilbao is winning UEFA Cups with only players from the region, if Qatar is winning the Asian Cup with 5,000 players, license, and no performance environment whatsoever, who's telling us that we cannot win the World Cup in 2026? Who is telling us that Austin FC cannot be the reference out there? If you can dream, I'm telling you, we have the human capital out there. We have the passion. We have the ingredients to put something very unique. So hopefully we're gonna unify efforts. We're gonna work together, and we're gonna give chance to these players to fulfill their dreams.
That's awesome. One last question for both of you, and I think this is just kind of to wrap it all up here is, you've talked about all these different areas, and you've talked about all this different stuff as far as, the human element that you keep referring to, which I think is so important and often missed. We're talking about, game models. We're talking about the amount of experience and the leadership from Claudio through all the way down, that you have this great experience. You've got facilities that are being built, training facilities that are being built. This community atmosphere. What is it that you think individually out of all those things, 5-10 years down the road, let's say 2026, what do you anticipate of those factors is going to set Austin FC apart from other clubs and other academies in South Texas? What are those things is going to stand out and people are going to go, that's what made Austin FC special?
For me, I would point to our coaching resources and the system that we're going to aim to build by helping produce local coaches. I think that's really going to be a differentiator for us. So not only investing in players, which is our primary goal, but I think with some of the resources that we have in terms of Juan and his experience and Claudio and his guidance, and then our interest to help the community and help young professionals here, maybe after they've played college or after they've played academy, or maybe they do the full cycle and it's after they played professionally for Austin FC. One of our dreams is to have a system that produces coaches as well. And we do that with weekly coaching development sessions, leadership like Juan having a big impact on our coaches. And it's something we really value. So it's interesting when you do the coaching education courses, there's a whole lot of reflection within those weeks and each day and all the assignments. And then I feel like a lot of people go back to their own environment and they don't really reflect, right? They just jump right back into the daily grind. And I think for me, what stood out with Juan and his approach is that reflection is every single day. I mean, even after this podcast, Juan and I are going to have a reflection and we're going to follow up. But after every training session, the coaches aren't done. They reflect on how they did and how they ran the session and what they could have done better. So it's something we'd like to emphasize as an academy.
Yeah, and I'm thank you, Tyson, because you just, how you call it, you hit the nail. So and it's related to the sense of family as well, you know. So we want to be a place where people learn every day, and I think this is the differential factor. And we want to be a place where the boys really feel that they improve in every aspect and that we care about them, you know. So they learn in the game, they improving as a person, and we want to build this emotional connection with them. And that, I think that's what is going to be unique about us. And it has to start from the staff, you know, building the sense of family that we're building. I think, again, Tyson has done a brilliant job on recruiting people that is aligned on these values. So you cannot change people's values, you know, and we're gonna feel pressure and difficult moments, challenges. We're gonna make a lot of mistakes, but if you have these shared values in common, you can create the environment for the players to flourish, and you can create something different. So I would say that, you know, expertise is very important, but the human factor is the most important one.
That's awesome. Well, guys, thank you. I know, Tyson, this is obviously your contact information here. And if anyone wants to reach out to Tyson, has interest in Austin FC Academy and different opportunities that are there, and obviously following them there on Twitter with their at Austin FC Academy. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time. I for one, am excited. I think anytime we offer another professional pathway within South Texas, within the United States, it's exciting, and it's been fun to watch you guys over the past year as you kind of build it, like you said, from the very ground up, and be very specific and precise about how you're doing it. And I've been able to watch that kind of from a distance, and it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it all come to fruition in the coming years, and watching what you guys are creating in Austin. So thank you for taking the time to do that, and we really appreciate it and look forward to seeing it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Gareth. Thank you.